Flurry debate, though. Because
Okay,
he
we
wasn't
should
even
be
on the radar. At that
live on YouTube, going live to Facebook now.
Well, I turned mine into a long-term parlay, so fuck you. On late night, right away. I'm gonna do this the entire show. Does that drive you crazy?
I call your bluff.
Like fucking Barney with the high five. Never leave a bro hanging. Have you seen that episode?
Okay, live there. And
Yeah.
You only have about 90 minutes to go.
My arm already tired. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not committing to that because I know I'll lose.
And we are live on Facebook if you guys want to share
Yippee!
those. Check the audio. and we'll be
Hey,
good to
Mike,
go.
add some text. They call that practical application.
Hey Nick, I think you're booked for the show on Saturday if you're good for it. Let me ask him.
Ooh, 5 teams in on the D-Hop trade. We might be, if we can you look that up? Can we slide that into the NFL segment? Not you, Gabe, Mike.
I'm sorry, I can only focus on one thing at a time. I'm currently adding text to my share.
Thank you.
I'm also trying to persevere through this music.
Every week, guys. Every week.
Well, it's really fun, you know. Okay. What is it that you actually like about the song though? Is there a particular part or a noise, a beep that you?
I liked it because the original thought was that it was like an NBA 2K loading screen.
I love it. I just love shitting on the song at this point. It doesn't even matter if I like it or not anymore. It's fun.
Mike was
Thank you.
Mike was in charge this week of intro music, and he originally wanted to have Putting on the Ritz.
I mean, that's you know where my allegiance lies. Yeah.
So if you guys want to set that up for next week,
I actually
I'll
chose
hit up-
Putting on the Ritz last week as well.
I will hit up Buster Poindexter for rights.
for the rights, yeah.
Yep. And by the way, gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but the show belongs to the streets and you.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Glass Half Sports. I am one half of your hosting duties, Nick Huffman. It is March 23rd, 2023, and I am joined by my forever and always co-host, no matter how much he may or may not like it, Mike Mensing. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad. Anything new in the coaching world for you? Getting ready for the season yet?
No, unfortunately. Well, we've had one off-season coaches meeting, but we still don't know what our schedule looks like.
Oh, because it hasn't
Minnesota
dropped.
State high school football is being completely redone. So all that we know for right now is that we are still going to be in 5A.
There we go.
And we just move from there. I think we'll get our schedule in May.
Oh, good luck to you, I guess.
Thanks.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the folks what we got this week as far as news to cover?
Yeah, as always, guys, we do have a big show for you today. We're going to start off with Minnesota Sports Roundup and move into WBC Review, World Baseball Classic, NFL offseason check-in, Associated Madness with a little bit of March Madness going on. We're going to finish with Combat Corner and our 30 under 30 teaser continuing with 27 and 28.
2 years.
Correct. And then, as always, we can be found on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, and YouTube. And then after the show, we can be found on MCN6 here in the Twin Cities area. That's cable. And if you aren't in the Twin Cities area, you can catch us through your Roku app on MCN6.
Yeah, just walk on down the hall. be a friend, tell a friend, make sure you smash that like button and hit that notification bell as well so you guys can see every time that we post new content. And I have some news for everybody. By next Thursday, we will be on Twitch, not just with our content from here, but gaming content. We're taking the leap.
Oh,
So
Son of a bitch.
another
Look at that.
platform for you guys to interact with me and Mike on as we continue to grow the channel. As always, we appreciate your support. Mike, what do we got first?
yeah. So let's do Minnesota Sports Roundup. Let's kick off with some Vikings vision. So Vikings have been making some moves in free agency.
Yeah, they got obviously Brandon Powell, which was kind of a letdown after some light-hearted, very casual Mecole Hardman talk, which had me all the way juiced up come Monday afternoon. What does this signing do to impact the Vikings moving forward, do you think, on offense?
Yeah, Brandon Powell is McCole Hardman light.
Yep.
So he's not going to add too much in the receiver game. He is brought in primarily as a punt returner.
Yeah, which strange to me. Does that signal or does that signify? I know that's what Jalen Rager was here for. I also know that it's part of the reason why we have Kenny around is as a return man. Are we steering away from some of those things on special teams?
Kene will remain as the kick return man. Jalen Rager did not impress as a punt
No,
returner
not
last year,
necessarily.
and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not in purple in the fall.
Okay.
What else you got? We
Uh,
got some trade news as well.
Yeah, it looks like the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes seems to have opened up. I do still think that teams are going to vet their way through Derrick Henry before they make their way to a guy like Dalvin Cook for obvious reasons. One of them being just flat out durability. Dalvin is not always the most available player, but seems to be drawing interest from some teams in particular, one of which would take him to Carolina to join Adam Thielen, who just left Minnesota, or the Atlanta Falcons as they continue to round out that offense. Also down there with another familiar face in Cordell Patterson. I know they kind of missed out on the Bills train. That was where everybody thought that he would go with his brother. They needed a running back, but they signed Damian Harris, I believe, to help solve their problems. Missed there, in my opinion. But where do you think Dalvin Cook lands? Because I don't think there's a way that they bring him back with the re-signing of Alexander Madison and the running back position not being a focal point of Kwesi's offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where he lands. I do like Carolina as a landing spot for him, however. If Dalvin Cook were to be a free agent, he would be the most valuable free agent in the running back market
Sure.
today. So he does have value as a trade piece. I wouldn't be surprised if this actually doesn't get done until draft day, and it's a draft day deal with us maybe moving up or getting an accumulation of picks.
Yeah, like trying to get back into the second round for a specific player.
Maybe 132
Yeah,
for that 5-year deal.
there you go. You know what I mean? And that's going to lead us right into the Lamar Jackson talks. So obviously, I had pretty much taken the Vikings all the way out of consideration for something like this, right? And just because there was no steam around it, I had thought it through. I thought there was an avenue there. Me and you had talked about it, but nothing from anybody to include the Vikings. And then all of a sudden, last week or this week on Monday, it pops that the Vikings actually have Vegas's third highest betting odds to land Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore Ravens sweepstakes. Mike, your initial thought before we get into what would have to occur to make this happen?
I guess same as you. I thought that it would never happen. Third in betting odds is higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I believe right now it is Carolina. No, New England is on the list. Atlanta might be on that list, and then it's the Vikings shortly after that.
Wow.
And for a couple of reasons, one of which is, and I put a tweet out about this earlier in the week, the Vikings structurally have paid the quarterback position financially like Lamar Jackson would like to be paid in the future. The Vikings are doing fully guaranteed money for Kirk, and we're the pioneers in doing guaranteed money for the quarterback position, which I think makes us a good we've got experience with what those contracts look like and playing the cap gymnastics and finding players as we did with Kirk, with the push that we've made since 2019 to now, right? The other thing being, if you really get into it, with some of the pieces that we can still move, Dalvin Cook, There's whispers now about Danielle Hunter being the guy that's going to get traded, and we keep Zadarius Smith and Marcus Davenport because Danielle Hunter can fetch you the first round pick that you may need to then be a part of the, hey, we have 2 picks to even approach the Baltimore Ravens about a Lamar Jackson trade. And it would help kind of reset the cap here without even having to worry about what do we do with Kirk Cousins, who could still very obviously be a part of that deal, because Baltimore could, how much do you believe in Huntley, I guess, but could you use Kirk Cousins for a year while you still evaluate that situation and then address your quarterback needs next year? I think these are all dominoes that fall in a direction where it seems like a mutually beneficial trade for both sides.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I actually did find the Lamar Jackson trade odds.
Okay.
So it looks like the number 1 team is the Baltimore Ravens. 30.8% implied probability and odds of plus 225.
Okay.
Second on the list. So the Vikings are third in free agent or trade
Trade targets, yeah.
So Ravens are number 1, the team that he's currently with, obviously. Tennessee Titans are going to be the number 1 trade destination. They're plus 400 odds to land him, 20% implied probability. New England Patriots are second in trade destination, plus 500, 16.7%. And then the Minnesota Vikings, plus 550. We technically have a 15.4% chance of landing Lamar Jackson, which is way higher than I ever thought it would be this early in his career.
Yeah,
which is cool.
And it shows, I think, what the consensus around the league is going to be with what the Vikings want to be moving forward, which is an offensively based team versus some of the departure from the purple people eaters and the defensive focus that we may have had in the past, right? So that there is that, and like I said, if you were to look at it right now, you move Lamar Jackson over to the NFC today, he becomes the best quarterback in the NFC. You pair him with Justin Jefferson and you go, I'll take Lamar and Justin any day over Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. I will take Lamar and JJ over Dak and CeeDee, even with the addition of Brandon Cooks. And there's not another quarterback in the NFC that touches those two right now. And then you get him indoors on a fast track, and with his proven career winning percentage, which is the second highest out of any quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes from the time Lamar Jackson took the reins, you're going to be playing home playoff games in US Bank, indoors, in favorable conditions for a guy like Mike Vick, who played indoors in Atlanta and lit the world on fire and got to an NFC Championship game himself. There's a lot of really good opportunities here for the Vikings to make a move on this. Would you do it, is the question.
I think your odds are better of being in an away playoff game because you had an 8-1 record and then Lamar got hurt. And your backup isn't very good. And you squeaked in.
So the injury concern for me is super understandable. But my question becomes, did Lamar Jackson miss any games during his stretch at Louisville, like any long stretches or periods of time at Louisville?
Do I know his injury history from college off the top of my head? Unfortunately, I don't believe so, but I do know that scientifically he was younger and his body bounced back faster.
Correct, but he was also in an offense that was way more wide open, and the designed runs are what makes the difference. You saw it in Jalen Hurts this year, right? When their offense started to struggle, they went to that power run game with Jalen Hurts, a lot like the Bills do with Josh Allen, and then those quarterbacks get banged up and they're not as effective. But when they're standing back there throwing the rock and they stay clean, they're incredibly explosive and usually pretty durable because they know how to take hits. They know how to get down. And if you take Lamar out of an offense where he's 20% of your run game, 25% of your run game, and allow him to be a downfield passer, I think you've limited your risk for injury greatly.
But then you're also looking at spending a lot of money on a big quarterback contract and a big trade that changes the face of your franchise and asking a guy to play differently than he has the past 4 years.
He's playing that way in that system because that's Greg Roman's system. That's Mike Vick's system. That's what that's left over from.
It's the system that the team that he runs, but he's also run that system for 4 years and hasn't been a downfield, open field passer in the NFL yet in his career.
Not in the NFL, but we know he can do it. You've seen
In
him
college.
and you've seen him be accurate on the deep ball when provided the weapons and opportunities in the NFL.
At times, he struggled in his first 2-3 years.
That's just going to take reps. That is always
Again,
going to take
I
reps.
personally wouldn't do it because there's injury concerns, and because if you are going to prevent the injury concerns, you're asking a guy to change his style of play while handing him a lot of money and the keys to the kingdom.
True.
I wouldn't do it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Gabe, what are your thoughts? Would you want to see the Vikings pull the trigger on something like this? By the way, the contract, we were messing around on Spotrac before the show today, folks. If you were to do a 7-year deal, pretty much a 5-year deal at 28.5 with 2 void years on the back end to get Lamar to $217 million over 7 years, technically, with room to move everything around. Lamar's 32 at the end of that deal. You've paid literally the same amount of money to Lamar that you've averaged paying to Kirk Cousins, and it kind of solves your cap problems.
Quasey, hope you're tuning in.
Well, actually, Quasey, since you're here, and since I was asked, you know how I feel now. I want us to not only do that with Lamar, hell yes, pull that trigger, but also let's trade Justin Jefferson while we're at it.
No. Here's the thing. If it happens, I think one of the bargaining chips for both contracts is going to be keeping them together.
Are you referring to Cousins and Jefferson or to Lamar?
So if you wind up getting Lamar, one of the things that I believe will keep you from having to pay a fully guaranteed $200 million deal that keeps getting reported, even though he continues to refute it, is, hey, we're going to also have to re-sign the NFL's best receiver. Can you take a little bit off the top for you? We're going to ask JJ to do the same, and we're going to put a team around you. So instead of $200 million, can we do 175? Can we do 180? And hey, JJ, instead of 160, because I think for a career deal, that's what you're looking at for him, can we do 140? And then you make sure that both guys get locked up at the hip for the rest of their career, their relevant winning careers, because they'll both be in their 30s by the time those contracts expire.
And then do you see them retiring together and getting a cabin or anything like that?
I would hope so. After 2 Super Bowl rings, shit, I'll build them a house.
Is there do we have any track record of them interacting at all? Jefferson and Lamar. Is there any
I would have to
relationship that we're
I
aware
would
of?
have to look. I do not know.
Okay, I'm just maybe.
I mean, I'm
checking.
sure when you're faces of the league like that, I would assume that you run in similar circles, media events, the Super Bowl press stuff. I'm sure they know one another.
Well, so actually, on that note, do we know what? I guess this is odd to me because I feel like I've never heard anything about this. But what is the nature of Kirk and Lamar's relationship? Or I'm sorry, Kirk and Justin Jefferson. I'm sorry. Are they actually tight or I feel like I haven't heard anything ever, which is odd.
Do you remember the story was it last summer or 2 summers ago where it was reported that JJ wanted to get together and do off-season throwing with Kirk or something, and Kirk was not gonna make the trip, so they used a different the Vikings receivers used a different quarterback or something like that.
Kirk sucks, dude.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I feel like that was a storyline this last offseason or the offseason previous. So I think JJ very much wants to win, and Kirk very much wants to win, but Kirk separates himself from football when football isn't occurring, and Justin Jefferson does not. Right? I think they're probably great for each other when they're around each other, but I don't think Kirk's dragging receivers out of bed at 7 o'clock in the middle of June to go run the route tree and develop the offense. That's not who Kirk is.
Yeah. He seems like someone who actually punches in or says to the coaches
I'm here.
I'm off the clock right now.
Yep. In the offseason, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Mike, would you agree with that?
Not really.
Really?
Yep. I follow Kirk on Instagram, and he specifically asked for a football to throw in the offseason a week ago. And
Yep, and they sent him a box of them.
They sent him a box of them because he's working in the offseason on his own time. So
I'm not saying
saying
he's not working. I would be saying he's not working team stuff. He's not working team activities in the offseason, you think?
I mean, he has the respect of his teammates. Justin Jefferson himself defended him towards the end of the season, like right around New Year's, basically defended Kirk Cousins and said that he's a great quarterback and that he respects Kirk. I mean, I can look for the exact quote if you'd like me to, but
The
No,
guy wears
I
a
don't
duck
think-
for a tie, for Christ's sake.
I don't think a receiver that disrespects his quarterback and doesn't like his quarterback because he doesn't work with him in the offseason would defend him go out of his way to defend him.
Like I said, I just
Or they're
that's
programmed since youth to give certain answers.
What's that?
been
Or they're programmed
since
from youth to give certain answers like that too. I mean, that's not super compelling, but I get you. I get what you're saying. I'm not saying it's not at all, but yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. You want to move on to Vikings draft stuff? You got anything else?
So, I mean, I just found a tweet from Justin Jefferson. He was responding to a video that was basically blaming Kirk Cousins for the Vikings' woes. Justin Jefferson said, quote, "All the Kirk criticism has to stop. I understand y'all hate the dad swag, but come on, his numbers are right with y'all's MVP candidates." So, I don't know.
It's just tough because the Minnesota Vikings have the third highest winning percentage since becoming a team, and we have no Super Bowls. It sucks when you can't. All
Yes.
that matters at this point for this franchise is being able to win when it counts. That's the last thing on the to-do list. We've got Hall of Famers. We've got all-time greats. We've had great seasons. We've had MVPs and wide receivers and running backs and defensive ends and head coaches. What do we not have? A Super Bowl. So the results are all that matters now.
Let me say one more thing too, because Mike is so high and on this whole, he's defending him. Well, let me ask you this:
I'm not defending him.
Did
I'm
he
telling
fucking
you.
hold on? Did Justin Jefferson? Did he sit down in the locker room and fucking cry and say, "That's my quarterback"?
You like that?
They love it.
So, I guess, yeah, we do need a Super Bowl. What are you saying?
We're saying that we got to win the Super Bowl.
And
We're not
Kirk
that close.
can't
Kirk's
do
not gonna
that.
He can't.
No,
extend a play.
regardless
He
of
can't-
what his numbers are, he has a ceiling that he will always be hitting his head against, especially asking for the money that he continues to ask for.
Sure.
Lamar asks for that money, and
And it has one playoff win?
I mean, fair enough.
Oh, okay. Cool. Let's move on.
You want to do draft
I
prospects?
hate it
Sure.
when Mike wins.
Let's do it. You want to start out by analyzing Max Duggan for me, just because I'm curious, as he has popped up on a couple of Minnesota Vikings mock drafts lately, along with Hendon Hooker, by the way, as part of that Kirk Cousins succession plan that we were just talking about.
Yeah, so for those of you at home who may not know that name, Max Duggan was the quarterback for the TCU Horned Frogs this year, who went to the 2023 College Football Playoff National Championship. Lost big, but that was
Yeah.
basically to a professional team. So this year, Max Duggan had almost 4,000 yards through the air, 32 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He subtly had some yards on the ground as well. Let's see if I can find those statistics for you guys.
I think he had over 500 yards.
Over
rushing
500
this year.
yards and six touchdowns last year. As a junior, had over 500 yards and 10 touchdowns as well. So he can get it through the air and on the ground. He's 6'2", 210. Reminds me a little bit of Russell Wilson, just a little bit shorter stature, a little bit stockier, can move, but maybe not the fastest guy on the field as well. I like the delivery and the throwing motion. It looks smooth. It looks technically sound. I like this kid. I think he is maybe at max in top 15, maybe top 20 type quarterback in his NFL career.
Okay.
I would say almost Kirk Cousins light with a little bit of mobility. I don't see him winning a Super Bowl in his career personally. I think that he didn't play very well in that national championship.
He did not. He looked overwhelmed.
And that's not exactly something that you look for in a franchise quarterback moving to the next level.
Do you think he's worthy of being part of the succession plan, though? I mean, we've seen it to where a guy of his caliber, right? So if you're going to take Duggan, you're going to get 4 years out of him. First year, he's going to sit with Kirk. Then you're going to have 3 years of an unpaid quarterback. Can you win a Super Bowl in his unpaid window with him at the helm?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there are quarterbacks in this class that I think that's possible.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to be in the running for any of them.
Fair enough.
There may be a diamond in the rough. There is a couple guys that I've been taking a look at that maybe we can take a peek at next week.
Sure.
That we might even be able to steal in the 6th, 7th round. That
Right.
I truly think that we could actually win some playoff games and maybe make a Super Bowl appearance or win one in that 3-year window.
Okay. Okay. Any other? I mean, what do you think his floor is? We've talked about his ceiling. What do you think the floor is for a guy like this? Obviously, plus athleticism.
Baker Mayfield.
Okay. I was thinking like Case Keenum. With a
Similar careers that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you think about it.
Why would we draft a quarterback right now? Like right now? Like
Because
I
Kirk
get doing it.
Cousins' contract has 1 year left, and we've come out and said that we are not going to
Extend
re-sign
him.
him at this time.
Yeah.
So that tells
he's
you
gotten too expensive.
it's gotten too expensive, too old.
They're looking. So there's a lot that plays into this. You have to reset Kirk's cap, not reset his cap number. What's making his cap hit so heavy right now is the fact that we continue to extend him with void years, and that the way that works is that it's great in the current term, but eventually you do kind of have to pay the piper, and that's why even though 28.5, like I said, for Kirk hasn't been bad, but when next year it's 34 and the following year it's 45.7, you're like, oh. Wow, we need to trim the fat on that contract, so you have to let it toll. There's generational quarterbacks in the draft next year, and there's some that you can, I guess, kind of gain leverage on him against this year. That's what we struggled with on the last extension. There was nobody in house that could really threaten him for. All right, well, we can hand the keys to this kid. He can at least do what you can do. That wasn't the case, so we had to re-sign him because you can't go without a quarterback in the NFL.
Are they floating this rumor to put pressure on Kurt just to do you think they really intend to draft him, or because let's say that Kurt, we cut him loose. It's not like we really want to start with where our team is at right now with a rookie quarterback.
Well,
right?
so we're going to
You'd have
keep
1
Kirk
year.
this year.
Yeah, this
Right.
year, Kirk's no matter what, Kirk will
No, I got that. I'm just saying it's still a quick turnaround, for someone who's just joining your NFL roster. I'm just wondering if it's sort of a bluff to put pressure on.
I don't
Kirk
think
all
it's
the
a
time.
bluff.
I
Kirk
don't
is
think so
34 now. He'll be 35 next year.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Okay.
demand a $30 million contract. I think 1 year in the NFL is actually almost more than the average. A lot of guys are getting drafted and starting that week 1 game.
Yeah.
A lot
But this
more
guy's
now than
playing for
ever.
The Frogs, the Horned Frogs. I don't know. Are they that good? I know they're good, but
I personally don't want him specifically,
yeah.
actually.
I don't think he's a terrible.
But we
I
just wanted
don't
to take
think
a
he's
peek at him because his name has been floated.
yeah,
Makes Lamar sound even better.
correct. Which is, I'm sure, part of the process for that is just going to be how long the Vikings are going to wait, because the 2 first-round draft picks can be rescinded to a different offer if the Baltimore Ravens approve that. Correct.
I'm sorry, what?
So on the Lamar thing, because he was just talking about makes Lamar sound even better. Do you think the Vikings draft strategy here is, hey, with Kwesi's value system, like where you can get guys at? Because I believe the Baltimore Ravens on the non-exclusive franchise tag can move off of the 2 first-round draft picks thing if they choose to, right? I know that's kind of like a decision the team makes, or is that contractual? Hey, because you signed a non-exclusive, you're automatically getting 2 first-round draft picks.
I believe it's the second one, and the 2 first-round draft picks aren't involved in the trade itself.
Correct.
Their payment to be able to do the trade.
Yes.
And then they have to agree for Lamar for the trade pieces as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Okay, yeah.
It's like Premier League soccer. You have to pay a fee to literally even sit down with a player and try to negotiate
Gotcha.
a contract.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, and then I guess if we're not going to go quarterback, the other name that has been floated, and this one surprised me a little bit, Mike, was Jordan Addison from USC. I see this guy popping up all over Vikings mock drafts. He seems to be the wide receiver that's hanging out in the 20s. Some people with size concerns, right? That's always going to be the thing with a 5'11", 173-pound frame. But for a guy who pretty much elevated Kenny Pickett to a first-round draft pick and was in a rebuilt USC offense with Lincoln Riley this year and did look good in certain spots, obviously didn't score a single touchdown in his last 5 games, but yardage machine, catch guy, seems to be really good in small spaces with that frame. What are your thoughts on this being the complementary weapon to Justin Jefferson, a la kind of how we used Adam Thielen 2019, 2018, 2017 alongside a guy like Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I see Jordan Addison being more of a Wes Welker type slot guy, which doesn't actually fit our scheme very well.
Okay.
I think he'll be a decent receiver. He'll probably get 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, type seasons, but not a scheme fit in my opinion.
And is that just because you haven't seen that out of Kevin O'Connell's system ever? A need for a guy like that, or
I mean, Kevin O'Connell specifically likes 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" receivers that are going to be able to create space on the outside because he likes 1-2 tight end sets with a play action and a boot, and that guy's doing a deep over.
gotcha?
Jordan Addison is quick and is going to make moves in route running, specifically towards the middle of the field, from what I've seen. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay, is he the best receiver in the draft this year?
No.
I think so. All right, fair enough.
Hey guys, I got a quick thing, if you don't mind, real quick. I found this
Sure.
article that has 4 receivers to replace Thielen with.
Sure.
I want to see what you guys think of them, or see if you know them too. I guess so. In fact, I'll put them on screen for you guys to see. We got Richie James.
Yeah, I know of him. I would not.
Chris Moore,
No.
Houston Texans. No.
Nope.
Rashad Perriman,
No.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, we're not liking the free agents, huh? And Olamide Zacharias from the
No.
Falcons.
Who wrote this article?
This was fan-sided. Go ahead, take a shot.
Yeah, Adam Carson. I would
Carlson.
Carlson. Yeah.
No need to make an enemy. You can just say you don't like.
Uh,
I mean, he doesn't work for the K fan.
It's true. So
shit on me.
Respectfully
yeah.
disagree.
yeah,
sir.
respectfully
Yeah.
disagree. I think there are better options than that available still in free agency, and I think going into the 3rd round of this year's draft, you could even find receivers physically gifted enough to outperform those guys for cost in the draft easily. So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard about this game.
Okay.
Just linebacker depth. Shouldn't play a whole lot, but will play a lot of games, if that makes sense.
All right, what do we got next, Mikey?
Wild Watch. So we're supposed to talk about the meeting that saved the season.
Yeah, I haven't been paying super close attention to this, but the thing is,
You've been missing out.
it was dropped in an athletic article last week that right after the All-Star break, when the Wild go on this 3-game skid, there was pretty much a meeting of the minds in the locker room that saved the Wild season, I guess, morale-wise for the team. Did you hear about this? Is this something I just missed?
I didn't hear about the meeting, to be honest. What I've been seeing is the multitude of goals that have been scored since
yeah.
Kirill got hurt.
Yes.
And then the game against the Devils on Tuesday. We got to talk about that too.
Yep.
But
yeah, I didn't. Interesting
Matt
to.
Boldy is who's been hot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that who's been picking up the slack?
Mm-hmm.
well,
And-
they all have.
Yeah,
like
every single one
since
of them.
Kirill got hurt, it's been 4 goals, 5 goals, 4 goals, 8 goals, 2 goals, 5 goals, 2 goals. Like they're
Yeah.
scoring, which is interesting because your best goal scorer is injured.
Well, we talked about second week in a row. We're going to talk about it. When a guy like that leaves, like when you have a guy like LeBron James, or you have a guy like, Adrian Peterson back in the day for the Vikings, when you have a guy that is such a focal point in your offense, sometimes other guys subconsciously kick it into second gear, or they're stuck in second gear, and they don't truly get to third because they know that they're trying to play around the star. Well, when the star is gone, all of those guys go, oh, there's a lot of puck time. There's a lot of touches here that are available. I'm going to take mine. And that it opens up them offensively as well. What I would like to see when Kirill returns, which we think is still about 2 weeks out, which would give us 4 or 5 games left in the season before the playoffs, when he returns, is for him to handle the puck a lot and move towards the net, but understand that facilitating is probably going to be his best role upon returning.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic when he returns.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully these guys remain confident in their own abilities, because that's what it seems like to me is They just almost look to pass first when he's on the ice, right?
Yeah.
So so what I read, because I was looking it up, is that Matt Boldy, and now I just found the stat,
Mhm.
but that Boldy is the one who's really emerged, who's like become the scorer. So in the last 6 games, he scored 6 goals and 4 assists.
Wow.
That's pace, man.
And then he had
speaking
that
of-
magical game winner. I'm sure you guys
Speaking
saw
of
that.
pace, did you see the Devils winner?
I did not.
Okay, so we were playing the New
1
New
second
Jer-
left.
the
I did hear that.
New Jersey
yeah.
Devils, right? It's in overtime. They shoot. So yeah, I mean, you can just watch the last 20 seconds here. It was amazing.
The audience doesn't see this. So
Yeah,
just to let
no,
you
the
know.
audience
So
doesn't see
they
any of this.
shoot with about 8 seconds left. It hits off the post. Boldy pretty much scoops it up. 4,
Oh,
3,
my.
2, 1, game winner.
Oh my gosh. Now, see that right there, you look at that moment and you go, oh, that's why he's going to be Carril's second-hand man
Yeah.
for the remainder of his career. Because he has that in him. What he needs to do is not shell up when Carril gets
Well,
back.
exactly. He just needs to continue to step up. That's the thing is, this is a stepping point. This is not the
Yes.
be-all, end-all, right?
No.
This is, okay, this is step 1. What's step 2 look like in the continuation of his progression?
Yeah, and I would just, more than anything, I think when Chris Long was here, he spoke really, really, really highly about Carril's relationship with Zuccarello.
Mhm.
And then he kind of told us, though, sometimes you want to see, you just kind of got to you got to peel them away from each other because they get so locked in on one another that it does limit things on the ice, right? You know when your buddy's out there, you're looking for him instinctively. And so I would like to see with the extension, maybe it doesn't have to happen at this point this year, but this offseason, if I'm Matt Boldy, I'm making a point to spend and dedicate some time building a relationship with Carril. Because when that takes place and Zuccarello leaves, then Carril still has that guy in the locker room. And if it's Matt Boldy, you're going to get a lot of great ice performances out of those two as well.
Yeah, agreed. So we'll continue to watch the Wild. They are second in their division right now, and their next game is today against the Flyers.
That's right.
So, Twins teaser. Twins injury bug is going around. Deep sigh. All right, well, because Nick's not going to take this one. Polanco, Kepler, Kirilloff, Duran, and Male are all banged up right now. Kirilloff is a wrist. Polanco, who's supposed to have a resurgent year, is a
Ribs or knee?
ribs. We'll go with. Duran took a line drive off his quad or something.
Yep. And in a simulated game. Right before, yeah,
Well,
there
hey,
we go.
At least we don't have Arias to fall back on.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
and he had a hot summer down in Florida. That scares me a little
course he
bit,
did.
but
I played baseball for a lot of years, never at this level, but like nobody ever got hurt, ever. These guys, it's like 6 dudes in one game.
oh, by the way, would you like to know what the incredible cherry on top of all of this is?
What's that?
Byron Buxton hasn't played a game yet in spring training. He hasn't seen a live at bat, and he will be starting the season as our DH. And will not be will not be playing in the field. I'm sorry, Twins can hide it all they want. That is a chronic arthritic knee at this
Who
point.
said we shouldn't sign him to a
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, but it's like you pump all of this air into this team, and it's the injury bug for us every single year, no matter who the stars are. At what point, as the ownership, do you go, hang on, we need to reevaluate our nutritionists? Go take a note out of the Vikings playbook. They were just scored the top franchise in the league about, player safety,
voted
player
on by
health.
the players?
Voted on by the players, right? So maybe we'll take a page out of their playbook because they seem to be a whole lot healthier than a lot of places, and the Twins are just in turmoil every year.
My idea is stop targeting injury-riddled free agents who are cheaper because they're injury-riddled. It's almost like they're injury-riddled. And then we go, oh, this injury-riddled player
Is injury riddled.
is injured. No! It's like shocking. Fucking shocking.
They're just throwing
Like,
good money
just-
after bad at this
Yeah,
point.
they're
like it's
fucking
yeah.
terrible. Terrible decisions continuously.
And guess
We
what?
get our hopes up. Guess what? It's fucking March. My hopes are already crashed for the Twins.
And guess what? This will be the year that we actually get to see. We're going to get 153 broadcast games from Bally this year, by the way, on their way out the door for bankruptcy. So, I mean, at least we'll get to watch them be bad this year.
Can you repeat that, or like how is that happening? We have
Great
staff
question.
standing by for the more Twins injuries.
Oh, thank you. I have no idea. It was a report that I saw on the Twins website when I was building the graphics this week, and I was like, "Oh, all right, cool. So we'll get over 100 games of televised baseball this year, but they're gonna be fucking awful. It'll be like
Horrible.
watching the Saints."
All right, with that, let's go Minnesota Timberwolves because they're sitting at 500 right now.
And the return of the big meow.
And the return of the big meow. They do pull out a win against the Hawks last night.
Oh,
Thank you to Nas Reed for coming up clutch in the last 4 or 5 minutes there.
reminding everybody why we don't need Cat.
Okay, thoughts on Cat's return?
The stat that I want to put out there for everybody should be the telling stat for who Cat is and what he actually brings to the table for the Timberwolves. 4 rebounds last night. The man has missed 52 games, supposedly is in playing shape, but instead of getting his big ass down to the block and grabbing boards last night to make this, maybe a little bit less of a competition and be a little bit less involved, like just Gabe said it before the show, he never has a hustle stat. Ever.
No, but he does have 22 points in 26 minutes.
Congratulations. You can shoot as a big man. We've had that formula and we can't win with it. I need boards and hustle, not threes and technicals. Because
Okay.
that's who Cat is.
Well, I thought he looked pretty good in his first game back after being injured for what seemed like
52
the entire
games.
winter. 22 points in 26 minutes, grabbed a few boards, had a few assists. The biggest thing that I want to see is hopefully Ant comes back here tonight, I believe.
Yes.
And
it needs to go right back to being Ant's offense.
What I need to
tonight.
see is the gelling of Ant, Gobert, Mike Conley, and Cat in that first 5 rotation. Got a few tough games coming up
Yeah.
as well. So, wait, no, we don't play tonight.
No, we don't.
We play Sunday against the Warriors. So that'll be a
Yee.
great test for that. Oh, nice little West Coast road trip
Yeah.
to test whether or not we have any.
Shot at landing into the play-in
Yeah, pretty
tournament at all.
much. And basically, it's going to be whether or not we can gel with this basically new roster.
Yeah. No.
So Warriors, Kings, Suns, and then the Lakers. But we'll talk about that game next week.
What do you want, before we move off this topic, as Ant returns tonight, what do you want to see the offense look like? We've talked about it for 52 games now. It's not the same team that Cat left. This is Ant's team. When Cat left, it was Cat's team. This is the first time we're going to see the result of that. What do you want to see? What do you expect to see?
I would really like to see a wide open offense, a lot of pick and fades by Cat, getting him out on the 3-point line and evacuating that paint area, having maybe Gobert on the low block on the opposite side that Ant is trying to drive. Basically open up the paint for Ant and allow him to facilitate the offense. However, to be honest, I would actually allow Mike Conley to lead that offense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He sounds like a hockey player.
Mike Conley?
Yeah,
Mike
you
Conley
sure?
Jr.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if I'm Mike Conley or if I'm Chris Finch, having Mike Conley facilitate with maybe the hint of, hey, listen,
Well,
Cat might be back.
you
Your
can-
first option is we need to get Ant the Rock. Cat will have his moments. He'll run plays, but if you're running
I
a
think you
fluid
run
offense,
a pick and roll, a high pick and roll with Gobert and Conley.
Mhm.
Put Towns and Ant in the corners. Allow Conley to kick to either one. Cat can hit the 3. Ant can drive if he needs to. Like, that's the spacing we need. Because Conley and Gobert can run that high pick and roll very efficiently as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Cat needs to be a perimeter player. If we're going to win a championship this year, if there's a 1.7% shot that we do it and we make the playoffs and we make a run, Cat needs to play as a stretch 4. That's what needs to happen. He can't be in the paint
No,
because he'll cloud
he
it up for
won't
Ant.
go to the paint.
Well, perfect. That's good. It is good that won't happen. I'm telling you, because if he's down there, Ant can't play Ant ball.
No, he can't.
So-
We talked about that earlier in the year.
We did.
2 big bodies is not something
Correct.
is easy to score around. Yeah,
So-
that's all I got. 2.5 games out of the 4 seed, or 2 games out of the 4 seed, and but all the way down to the 12 seed is still in it in the
Is
Western
one game
Conference
out.
right now.
Yep.
Yeah, so you really got to buckle up and play hard. This is your playoff stretch. It starts now. Like,
Well, and the crazy thing is too. What did I say were the next few games? So we have Warriors, and the Warriors are currently at the 6th seed, right
Yep.
in front of us. 1 game up. So we win, we flip.
yep.
And then the next game is against the Kings. The Kings are at 3. Again, that helps us gain ground. And then our last game of the week is the Suns. The Suns are at 4.
I have
2
bad-
games up. We win all 3.
we could
We're
be the 4
sitting at the
seed.
4 seed.
Now, here's the
Won't happen.
Here's the unfortunate news. There are already reported rumblings that guess who's going to be returning for that game in Phoenix? Kevin Durant. So,
He's human, and again, he hasn't had much run with them.
that's true, but when they've been together, they look good.
2 games, 3 games sample size.
Yeah, well,
That's nothing.
You
D-Book
saying
and
that Cat couldn't like D up and go out and cover Durant and shut
No.
him down?
Kevin Durant would put Cat in a blender.
I know. I just wanted
Okay.
to like bring attention back to that.
Yeah.
All right, with that, our Minnesota Sports Roundup is done, and we're
Yes,
going to
sir.
switch over to the World Baseball Classic. Did you check out the finale of this?
I did. I was kind of lightly watching it as I was setting things up for the show this week. Couldn't have asked for a better matchup. Couldn't have asked for a better beginning, middle, or ending. It's literally like the MLB is going to get accused of the scripting that the NFL should have been accused of, for Shohei Ohtani to come out and walk his first hitter, or, to walk his first batter when he enters the game, and then to still be the guy that shuts the door on Mike Trout. You can't, his own teammate in a 1-run game with what is reportedly Super Bowl-esque numbers of people watching all over just
Actually, correction,
Perfect.
that was more than the Super Bowl. 60 million people.
Jesus.
And actually, for one of the Japan games, 55 million just in Japan.
Yeah, that was the Japan versus Korea. Yep.
Yeah.
Just insane.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, he is. I feel so justified buying all his cards this year, and I wish I would have bought more.
Nope, other graphic, Gabe, by the way.
Whoops.
It is
How
the
should I know?
it's the
No.
power of sport, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
they
Dude,
couldn't
yeah.
write a story better. The funniest point about this whole thing, in my opinion, is how dominant Shohei Ohtani's team was in the World Baseball Classic. How dominant Mike Trout's team was in the World Baseball Classic.
The only thing
And then
that,
the team that they play on together
yeah.
is god awful.
That if, and
It's pretty funny.
Shohei is leaving, right? Like you see the Padres clearing cap space, you see the Dodgers clearing cap space, you see the Cubs clearing cap
The Mets
space.
are in there.
The
as
Mets
well.
are in there.
Trey
Like,
Turner, I forgot about that. Sorry.
yeah, he does it again. First of all, do you think US wins this game if we have one of our actual pitchers show up? Like, I didn't know any of America's pitchers. None of them.
Our best pitcher was a top 10 guy, and I didn't know that guy. I can't remember his name, but it was like, and he had bad control problems. I'm blanking on his name, but of course, right?
You know what I mean? And that seemed to me, it just felt like the difference was the starting pitching.
Well,
But I think that's a conversation we need to have as well, right? So how long has the World Baseball Classic been around?
Since early 2000. Well, it came out
I'll Google it.
right after they exonerated it from the Summer Olympics, and that would have been the mid 2000s.
So this is basically the world equivalent to baseball Olympics.
Yes.
Is that what this is?
Correct.
Yeah, it's tight. I don't know if I'd go. To be
I
honest,
mean,
Why would you not?
because if I get injured and I have a not guaranteed big contract sitting at home and I need to pitch in 2 months in my season,
Yeah.
But that means so that puts you squarely at odds with all the players on this team who are all reporting back saying that this is the most fun that they've had playing baseball.
Not-
in years,
but it also
and-
puts me squarely agreeing with a lot of MLB players that sat at home.
no,
hence
with the
our
owners.
pitch.
With the owners.
What
not
about
the
our
players.
pitching rotation at the USA? Like what?
I mean,
where
yeah.
were all
That's
those
what-
pitchers, Gabe?
Edwin
Because-
Diaz
because the
loses his
ownership-
season.
Well, I mean, hey, I get that things happen. I'm not saying it's not going to
So
be
we're saying the
perfect.
owners told them they can't go.
They
You-
did.
yeah,
They did.
The
They
owners
actually
have
put caps on them.
Yeah, some of them have stepped out and been like, "Hey, we're not sending people."
They fought it hard to where,
Yeah.
like, they put up when it first came out. George Steinbrenner put up signs in the Yankees stadium saying
Mhm.
like call the commissioner to complain, and
Oh.
they don't want to send their players. And,
Well, I disagree with that. I think it should be the players' call. But
A
I
lot-
definitely
yeah.
saw a few players say that they didn't want to go either,
True.
oh
but-
yeah, I mean I'm sure there are
which
guys,
I
right?
respect.
Yeah.
Yes,
personally.
of course. But the guys who want to go, who want to participate,
Should be
they
able to
let
go.
them do it.
Should be able to go.
They
And
absolutely
especially
should be able to.
because it looks like each team is gonna. I was looking up to see because Major League Baseball actually puts this on, or they are behind it.
They're a big part of it, yeah. Rob Manfred was there at the medal ceremony, and I thought it was really funny, by the way, who Shohei Ohtani pretty much wins the whole damn thing for him. And then what does he do? During the celebration ceremony, he walks over to Rob Manfred instead of the World Baseball Classic Committee to receive the MLB medal before the World Baseball Classic Committee's medal, knowing that he's going to make an absolute fucking boatload of money this offseason.
So it looks like there's significant revenue sharing coming in, but
Really?
it's actually not making its way to the players.
Oh.
So it looks like I'm seeing
How
between
convenient.
50 and $100 million per. I mean, that can't be per team.
You know, if that's the case, take 50% of that number and say, hey, if you're playing in the World Baseball Classic and we win it, it's yours. Pay the team.
Yeah, I'm reading this article. It is pretty crazy because the collective bargaining, the CBA works off of the revenue generated by the major leagues, right? Like that's how
Yep.
they set their levels. So basically, they're keeping this money outside of that bubble. So there's of course some dirty shit going on in the background, but fix that,
Right.
and because it grows our game. It makes it more. I mean, this is exciting. Like I am sick that I didn't watch like really more than 3 innings.
Yeah. I mean, and you think
Tons of
about
highlights.
there is potential if when baseball wants to do this for it to be two
Yeah.
things. One, it can become the equivalent of the like USA for the longest time. Basketball blew up here and became what it was because of the Dream Team. And you could do that in baseball. Japan has won this thing 3 times. Now, you can go out there and dethrone Japan, and in the process, you know what that's going to do? That's going to help with the youth of the sport because they're going to be watching it. They're going to see it on an international stage at a time where the entire world is international clips on social media. And it's going to help the MLB as an overall because I have never been more excited to start a regular season than I have off the back of this. The U.S. getting to the finals, getting to see some of our talent being showcased, and then being like, oh shit, baseball starts in 2 weeks. Let's go.
How about even showcasing personalities on teams that you didn't like?
Yeah.
Like I've known Randy Rosarina for a long time, right? Like I mean, I've known of him as a player. Had no clue he was that charismatic and
Right.
like awesome of a guy.
Signing autographs during a pitching change.
Oh, on that giant glove. I want that giant glove too. But yeah, like what a really like a great guy. It
Yeah.
makes you like him more. It makes you like the game more.
This was good
Um,
for baseball.
Did you see the Czech team?
Oh, it's funny that you're going to ask because I saw a guy that pitched against the Czech team that we need to check in on if that's where you're going with this.
No, I was going with.
Oh.
There was tons of celebrating Shohei, which I'm a huge Shohei fan. I think he's statistically the greatest baseball player of all time
Yep.
already, which is very weird to say. But he also got struck out by an electrician.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yeah, because the Czechoslovakian team,
That's funny.
they have like their guys, their teachers.
Yes.
They all have day jobs.
Yeah.
And this guy was throwing 77 mile an hour like lollipops, and he struck out. He struck out Ohtani, and for them that was their World Series. Like they went nuts. It was awesome. I mean, it was fucking awesome.
Well, maybe we should talk about the revenge that was being had on the other side of that pitcher's duel where Shohei Ohtani got struck out. Because did you see, Gabe? We've checked in with a 19-year-old recently, in the last couple of summers that was throwing back-to-back no-hitters that actually pitched on that Japan team with Shohei Ohtani in that Czech game.
Yes,
Does Roki Sasaki ring a bell to you, Gabe?
it does, because I think who brought that to my attention?
We covered it here on this show, what,
God.
Mike, 18 months ago?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Kid was, 18, 19 years old, had, pretty much just got out of high school, making his major league debuts, and he had 20 some odd strikeouts over two, a back-to-back no hitters. He got the opportunity to start as a 20-year-old against that Czech team in the World Baseball Classic to the tune of 11 strikeouts, consistently high 90s fastball, great control. I'm so stoked for this kid to get to the league. Me and Mike were talking about it pre-show. The delivery just seems like he'll never have an arm problem.
Yeah, super smooth delivery.
Super smooth splitter, like
Super smooth.
That's what they said about Mark Pryor. I don't know.
ground ball pitcher with that splitter too. Gabe, what do you think this kid's ceiling is?
I mean, it's obviously super high, but I gotta say,
Super high.
I'm somewhat, it's somewhat diminished by, I keep getting just blown away at how many guys throw over 100 now. So it's hard to kind of like, to go, wow, he's incredible. I gotta
Yeah.
see his secondary pitches now, unfortunately, which I guess the splitter's great, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's so bizarre for me to watch baseball now and see who's that guy for the Reds who throws 104.
Hunter Green.
No, not him. It's a white guy who's a reliever for him, and it's like
Oh,
there's so many dudes now who throw
Yeah,
over 100. It's
right.
just like I don't even know how to react to it anymore.
well, I just mean for a guy to be throwing consistently as hard as this kid is, like
Ben
that's
Joyce.
that's a small frame. Roki Sasaki is not a
That's-
big kid.
That's what I'm impressed by is whenever small guys like that can generate that heat. And I mean, I think historically it does work out well. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Pedro Martinez. and
Yep.
It seems like the guys who can do it just
Do it.
somehow do it. Yeah. I don't know.
Where do we? So 2 years before he comes over, right, Mike? Is that what we were talking about before the show?
I think so.
Uh,
Ben Joyce is the Reds reliever.
Yeah.
He's still in college. The Tennessee redshirt junior
Oh,
has been
yeah.
making waves on social media for his triple-digit fastball. This weekend, Joyce even reached 104.
And he throws the straightest ball, like it's a four-seamer that is he just dots it in there though. So, but it's weird. It looks hittable, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But
at 104, I don't know how hittable it is.
No, I know. One of the other things that I wanted to point out for the good stories of the WBC, because it really, what a fucking amazing, a couple weeks of baseball.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Lars Nootbaar. Did you guys see that?
Mm-mm.
So I've known of Lars Nootbaar from card collecting, right? And he was a rookie last year. He's signed with the it's either St. Louis or Arizona. I can't
Okay.
remember which one. But he had a good start to the year, kind of, and then I thought he's a white guy. I mean, to me, he's a white guy. And then all of a sudden, I see him playing on the Japanese team,
Oh.
and I'm like, "What the hell is Lars? Is his name Lars
Nootbaar.
Nootbaar?
Yeah.
Well, ends up he's half Japanese, his mom is, and they have video of him when he was 12, like in Little League. His dream is to go play for Team Japan because they went on some trip there as a family, and he got embraced. He is a rock star in that country now, and as a rookie, he was tearing the cover off the ball.
Wow. Good for him.
He just absolutely stepped up, was a leader of the team. I mean, man, the Japan and Korea rivalry, and just having all these countries teach us how to watch baseball.
Yeah.
Watching Venezuela, like they just lose their fucking mind for 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, the group behind home plate every time they strike him out. That's like, yeah, like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
100% how we should be watching baseball.
Even Japan with their the pepper mill. or
Absolutely.
whatever,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
was Lars Nootbaar. Lars Nootbaar brought that to him. So that became their big thing, the pepper mill. And it's like they're having fun. You don't see that in the major league games to this level.
Yeah.
And when do you ever root? Unless your team is in the World Series, when
Yeah.
do you ever root that hard?
I mean, you could go to a baseball game these days, Gabe's, and do 4 hours of work on your laptop. Like,
yes. Oh, I'm just
In
there to
America.
buy my kids food.
right.
Like that's it. So yeah. No, I just thought this is the greatest feel-good story, and I can't believe how many radio shows you'll hear where they shit on this.
No,
It just blows me away.
I loved the World Baseball Class. I think this was great for baseball. I think it was great for the names of baseball. I think
Only way it could have been better.
I know. I know.
But all right, Mike, we'll let you move on.
What do we got, Mike?
Next is NFL offseason. So Magic's bid on the Commanders.
Yeah, so Magic Johnson partners up with the Harris Group, and he was actually also in on the bid with the Harris Group for the Broncos when they were beat out by the Penner Group, and is now looking to purchase the Commanders, which Ian Rappaport says is imminent. So like any day now, that sale could go through. He's got his hands in the Sparks, the Dodgers, a couple of other teams. You think this is a good fit?
Can't be worse than Snyder. So don't care who it is, if I'm being completely honest. Just as long as Dan Snyder is gone and out of there and I never hear his name again, I don't care who the owner of the Commanders is. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah, that's completely fair. Do you trust Magic to be able to breathe some life? Obviously, the stadium needs repairs.
Like I said, like literally step 1 to me is get Snyder out. Don't care if it's the Grinch taking over. Step 2 would be, okay, does this move actually move Washington forward? And I would say the fact that Magic can have his hands in, different teams, different organizations, understanding how to set up. He's
player
clearly
relationships.
not doing the work himself. He's
Yeah.
setting up a system that he has in place of top down, running things correctly,
Right.
and 2 certifications of the league. You've never heard the Sparks arena is leaking or anything goofy like that,
Yeah.
Dan Snyder. So I think that this is a great move for stability for the Commanders.
Yeah.
I don't know if it lends to championship rings or anything like that.
Well, it might
But-
look at Magic's
Johnson? Is that what you just said to me?
Wow, a little slip there, huh?
look at Magic Johnson's involvement in the Dodgers in his tenure there. They have been much
they've been
better.
able to spend money, right? So it's not necessarily Magic Johnson. It might be more so the Harris Group, but
Yeah.
there is something in the NFL that the MLB doesn't have that will limit that, and it's called
Salary cap.
salary cap, right?
But
But
we've
again,
seen-
maybe the players won't be charged for Gatorades in the locker room. Maybe they won't be charged for
Shut up.
dinners in the cafeteria like the Arizona Cardinals players are.
Yep.
Like that stuff lends to maybe being ranked number 1 in the NFL Players Association poll.
Correct.
That stuff and stability in the front office is going to lend to the Commanders being a team that will be well respected around the NFL, which they were not.
So my question becomes with him being involved in this is the only kind of detour I want to take off of this is at some point, because of how we've described the NFL's salary cap to be fake, because we went through that whole conversation about a year ago or last offseason where the way that these contracts really work is if the owners can stomach paying the signing bonus just this instead of just the base salary, right? You can get away with loading a team down a little bit more. That's how the Rams got their thing. That's how they got it done. That's how the Kansas City Chiefs are doing a lot of their contracts. The 49ers right now, same thing. With Magic having to have an uncapped league where Mookie Betts and guys like Shohei Ohtani are going to try to cash in on $500-600 million paydays.
Your question doesn't need to be 7 paragraphs long, Nick.
Does
Get to
it worry you that it's going to strap the Commanders long term because of the financial obligations he does have elsewhere?
No.
Really?
No,
Fair enough.
not at all.
It was a genuine question. There's
Yeah. You think because he's paying Mookie Betts, he might not be able to get a quarterback for the Commanders kind of a thing? Like, obviously on a simpler version?
yes.
No. Come
Okay,
on, man.
okay.
That's why it's the Harris Group with him. He's probably 8% of the money. He's just the name that we all know.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like the A-Rod Mark Laurie thing. Yeah, A-Rod maybe paid 20%, but he's freaking A-Rod.
He's got a $250 million balloon payment coming apparently that
Yeah.
we don't know if he's going to make.
He will.
Woo! What's up?
I just got a news story back here that I thought was kind of funny. Just on the what Mike said about Dan Snyder just made me Google because that blows me away. But
Did it make you giggle too?
Oh, of course. But he said that they have a story out that came out 2 days ago that said that he's delaying. So he's cleared out his office, so they think it's like imminent now. But he delayed all the payments to his free agents now, so that the new owner has to pick it up. So that like he's even like it's a breach of contract. He's just like
Total
sticking to-
piece
He's
of
a
shit
piece of
human
shit.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total piece of shit.
If
human being.
he stepped out of the Commander's facility today and was hit by a garbage truck,
That garbage truck might have a statue outside of the new stadium. That
yep,
this
with
new
a
owner
big
will
old.
build.
You could actually technically, if you look at the logos, if as long as it's a waste management garbage
Yeah,
truck,
you could
scrape.
pull it off. Yeah.
You could scrape off the M and just use it as
Yep.
the Commander's
Perfect.
logo.
I wonder if he's got some mafioso type stuff here because so it says that he's under investigation by the IRS for a $55 million loan
Yep.
that he bought his former partners out well under market value. You
Yep.
know, which just reeks of
Oh yeah, of collusion.
some coercion of
Yep.
some sort. Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's a shady individual.
be a good documentary someday.
Yeah. I
Great
don't know.
30 for
I don't know
30.
if I want to be close enough to him.
It'll make for a great 30 for 30 in about 10 years.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to get close enough to that guy ever to.
Well, here's the craziest thing is they're going to find out so much more once
Oh.
somebody else goes into that front office.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
Like that's when
absolutely.
shit's going to come out.
When Dan goes, technically, all those files that were attached to like even the Gruden situation, like Gruden's situation is still open and pending.
I would really like to know what that really, what that really was, sort of. Like, did he let that go to leak that to Sink-Gruden? Or, I'm sure
somebody,
there's more to that story.
somebody
Right.
needed, and I think when me and Mike talked about this, and maybe I'm wrong, we both kind of looked at it as, well, the NFL in general needed a scapegoat because I can promise you Jerry Jones or some of these other,
Well, that's the thing.
Owners around the
scapegoats
league
should have been the owners.
but they used a coach instead. And they closed it on that, made him the martyr for the situation,
And then pumped it up in the media.
Yeah, and then pumped it
Right.
up in the media.
So let's talk about Brandon Cooks to Dallas, because we're running low, bro.
Oh, long on time?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an interesting move to me. Brandon Cooks has been a 1,000-yard receiver everywhere that he goes. I think this is a great compliment to Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. The issue is there's only one football, and Dak needs to stop throwing it to defenders, not instead of his wide receivers. So does a weapon like this really even matter?
No, because Brandon Cooks on top of the points that you put forth, Brandon Cooks is also cooked.
I don't know about
He's
that.
nowhere near what he was in New Orleans. Nowhere near, and hasn't been. He's a shell of himself. He's basically a little bit better version of Brashad Perriman.
Oof. Tough.
How dare you?
True.
Yeah, that's not great.
Thielen bait for Rodgers.
Yeah, so Adam Thielen gets his 3-year, $33 million contract to the Carolina Panthers. And I personally think that move was made with the Panthers still holding out even a sliver of hope that the deal between Aaron Rodgers and the Jets is going to fall through. They signed one of his best friends and have started to build a backfield, and they're looking at wide receivers in the draft, and they've got these you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you go, could it be the plan B? Could they just kind of be holding out hope for Aaron?
No,
Really?
I don't think so at all. I think their entire plan with a new head coach is going to be to allow that head coach to pick his quarterback at number 1 and go forward with a franchise like that. They bring in a 32-year-old receiver who's nothing but a consummate professional, who
Yeah.
knows how to work hard to be great in this league, and that is how you want your quarterback starting off as well. So I think it was just a morale boost. He's a great locker room guy. We're going to miss him because of these reasons, right? So, they're not just getting, in my opinion, still a top 30 receiver in the NFL. They're getting one of the better locker room guys, one of the harder workers.
Say he's inside the top 30 still.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
I might have to do some research.
I think he could be a number 1. There's 32 teams.
You think they missed that bad?
I don't
That the
think.
Vikings were that far off?
I think if you go back and watch the All-22, Adam Thielen was open a lot this
Okay.
season.
Because of the
and his
attention Justin
statistics
Jefferson was
could have
drawing.
reflected that.
And yet
Right,
you
so,
want to keep Kirk.
So let's do this really quick, right? So let's look at Minnesota Vikings receiving stats. No, seriously.
No, yeah, absolutely. NBA stuff's quick, and then
Yeah.
So Justin Jefferson had 1,800. Adam Thielen had 700. Typical teams have 2 receivers that have 1,300 each, and if you do the math, the yardage numbers are about the same. So to me, it's the scheme. It's Kirk Cousins wanting to throw the ball. There were 3 or 4 plays that I can almost remember off the top of my head that Thielen is wide open on the 8-yard crosser, but JJ's got double coverage on the 17-yard post, and it's basically supposed to make the free safety pick one or the other, and Kirk has thrown it to JJ anyway.
Then why do you want to keep him?
Why do I want to keep Kirk Cousins? Because statistically, he's one of the best quarterbacks the Vikings have ever seen. He hasn't gotten injured in 5 years. He gives us a chance to win pretty much every game. I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl, and his contract is up in 1 year. Why don't we just ride that out?
Why don't we make a move and
Get Lamar Jackson.
And get another quarterback who's actually injury prone, wants more money, and has the same amount of playoff wins? I don't see the upside.
same amount of playoff wins in less time, wants the money and actually deserves it because the guy's got, even though the same amount of playoff wins, an MVP to go along with it, with the highest winning percentage outside of any quarterback, not
When you
named
play
Patrick
10 games,
Mahomes.
it's easy to have a high
I'll let
winning
Nick
percentage.
speak for me. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't make, and it's the same money. Wants more money, it's the
over
same
5
money.
years, tied up to an injury-riddled quarterback.
Well,
When was the last time he played all 17?
The year he won the MVP.
2020?
How was his offensive line?
So 3 years ago.
I don't know. They let go of Orlando Brown.
It was great, actually. It was just run heavy.
Yeah.
It was a great offensive line, actually.
Yeah.
All right, basketball. Ja Morant returns.
Yeah. Thoughts on this? Do you think it's too early? Do you think he should have been held out longer? And especially now, it's funny. Dylan Brooks, is that the guy that got suspended for the Grizz as well for attitude issues? Ja Morant seems to be infectious among the other players that they have on roster there.
Sounds like a lack of discipline from top down to me.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes, Dan Snyder sounds like some sleazebag shit, Dylan. I would agree.
yes. I do think it's personally too early, but if you look at it from a business perspective and from the Memphis Grizzlies perspective, the West is very tight and close, and they need their best player playing.
Yep.
That's also why they probably came out and said that they're no longer staying overnight after away games,
Mhm.
that they are getting on the plane immediately and leaving the city.
I mean, makes sense, but if you go back and watch Skip and Shannon's breakdown of this, it doesn't really matter. There was 2 nights where he was at that very same club in after other games where they had returned. He pretty much left the airport and then went to the club. So I don't think it's a matter of when or a matter of where. It's a matter of if he wants to or
It
not.
sounds like it's not even a matter of if. It sounds like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So do you continue to play your best player or not? Because you do have a playoff push to go contend for.
Yeah, you really do.
Do I think it's the best for Ja Morant?
I don't think this is
Not
the
at
best
all.
thing for Ja Morant.
But he's
I
a
would agree.
professional athlete, and his employer views him as an asset who can play basketball real well.
100%.
So I don't know.
100%.
You
Paul
guys,
George.
Have you heard any? So there was a rumor thing that I read where it was a source from the team where they said they're not worried about the fine, the business stuff. We're worried about him, the person, and that there's things going on that the guy didn't want to talk about. Have you heard rumors about what that could be? You haven't? Okay. It sounded like really more like a mental illness kind of thing, even more than the
I think it's
the gang stuff.
I was going to say the affiliation thing, I think, is what would concern me most because I
Of
think
course. Yeah.
that has the ability to warp one's perspective,
Yeah.
and that's where my concern would come from.
Yeah. All right. Just curious.
Yeah.
All right. The Clippers and Paul George appear to have dodged the worst case scenario with his right knee injury. The team says that imaging determined that George suffered a sprained right knee and that George will be re-evaluated in 2 to 3 weeks.
This is both
Thank you,
good.
Andrew Grief.
Yeah, absolutely. This is both good and bad for the Clippers. The bad news is with Paul George gone, guess who's probably going to step in and fill those shot attempts? Russell Westbrook. Right when they had this thing rolling, they had kind of actually unlocked him a little bit, playing him alongside Paul George and Kawhi, telling him, hey, your job is to do the anti-cat thing, and you need to be all hustle. Grab rebounds, chase down steals, get open, get going on the fast break, and then in sets, you are not to shoot the basketball. But when a guy like Paul George goes down for 3 weeks in the middle of you preparing for the playoffs, Russ is going to have to step in and fill those shots because Kawhi still does load management, and I don't know if that puts the Clippers in a very favorable position ahead of the playoffs.
We kind of have a theme today. It's almost like Paul George is an injury-riddled player.
Yes.
And when he gets injured, they go, he's injury-riddled. He's been injured 5 of the last 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Probably, if
Yeah.
not more. Like, where is the shock coming from on these? Like, if you have a guy who gets hurt every year, when he gets hurt, don't be shocked.
I don't get it either.
It's funny with all the advanced metrics and fucking information we have now
Right?
that they haven't just kind of moved on from people like that where you go,
Yeah.
we're not going to fix this dude.
And it's not the athlete's fault.
No.
Right. Not at all.
It's just
No.
sometimes you
Genetics.
become injury prone or the way you play.
Hey, Mike, how many times you dislocated your shoulder?
53.
There we go.
Are you serious?
So that's kind of my point. Interesting story or rumor that came up off the back of this. I wanted to get your thoughts on. Carmelo Anthony has been sitting at home on the couch all offseason. With the style of ball that the Clippers asked Paul George to play, which is pretty much mid-range jumpers and threes and secondary scoring on every unit, do you think that's a call the Clippers should make? Familiarity with Westbrook from last year. He's a LA kid, obviously still looking for a team in a playoff run. You could then use him as the 6th man off the bench come playoffs. Is that a call you make?
Maybe for a workout and just see if he can get up and down the floor,
Fair enough.
because he couldn't really do that much last year and he was pretty much a spot up shooter.
Yes. A good spot up shooter, nonetheless.
Sure, but you could go to Lifetime and get one for $100 probably
That's
too.
true.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
That's probably true. Probably true.
March Madness review / preview. So this show made an outlandish statement
Yep,
last
and
week,
I'm just
and
gonna
we
eat
need
it.
to sincerely apologize to Fairleigh Dickinson,
Yeah.
who did beat Purdue. So we apologize. We crow. We're sorry. Congratulations. 16-1. We didn't think it would happen because we use logic here at the show.
Yeah.
But congratulations. And yeah, pretty cool that you made it past the first round.
Congratulations.
But-
You beat the most beatable 1 seed in NCAA history in Purdue,
Oh,
and
don't
you're
start
not.
diminishing it for
And
him
hey,
now.
whoa! And you're not even the Cinderella story of
That's
the
what I was gonna
entire
say,
tournament.
is that
That
they
belongs
aren't
to
the Cinderella
Princeton, who's still in the tournament.
Yeah, congratulations to Princeton. Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, tournament is winding down. I would highly recommend you at least just tune in to know kind of who's moving forward.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to watch. You know, teams like Princeton and Fairleigh Dickinson move on instead of what Kansas, Duke, North
Yeah.
Carolina, and Kentucky are all out again this year. It's awesome.
Yeah. Gabe, can you look up Princeton's top scorer for me, or can somebody look up Princeton's top scorer for me?
Yep. No, I'm on it.
Because there was a very interesting story that I heard on the Pat McAfee show the other day that this kid is like the caricature of a Princeton like student athlete. They say pregame, this guy is sitting in front of his locker with his dress pants on and his feet up or his legs crossed, reading like the New York Times, like the finance
Grady
section.
Thompson.
I believe that
I
might
got
be it.
Tosan Ev
Nope, that's the one.
Waman.
There we go.
Okay.
And the kid is just like, he enjoys like aged scotch and cigars and like paperback books, and
He's British.
like he is
Oh my
the
God.
definition of a Princeton guy too. So I'm all in on this dude.
What's his name, by the way? Say it again. Because I
Tosan?
got some high school Princeton, I think is what.
So it's Tori Sasan or
Tori.
Tosan
Okay.
It's Ev Buamwan. Yeah, Ev Buamwan. Ev Buamwan.
Of Beaumont. But yeah, the guy, I'm a big fan of his. That I will be paying attention to through the rest of the tournament. If that guy cuts down the nets, I just want to know what he does with it. Does he frame it in like old mahogany in his mansion, like to just hang above his desk when he trades stocks for the rest of his life?
You mean trades poor people?
He has
Sure.
717 followers. Are we sure this is the right guy?
That's
Yeah,
what
I
British
mean-
guy? I would assume so,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. How does he only have 717 followers on Twitter?
because he's from Princeton.
Yeah, but his team's in the Sweet 16. He's their leading scorer.
That's
Yeah,
true.
People hate people.
But that's an interesting one. You want to do the fight corner, the combat corner there, Mikey boy?
Yeah. So Leon retains title.
Yeah, Gabe.
Yeah, awesome. I gotta say.
We're gonna eat crow on that one too. I
Yeah.
think we both had Usman returning even amid, knee issues and taking care of business, and it was a close fight. I will give you that. But
I
Leon
got-
Edwards dominated in the first, dominated in the second. You can debate the third and fourth rounds, but then really separated himself again in the fifth, and especially with the point deduction in there. In my opinion, an absolute master class. I think Leon Edwards came out and showed that he is a true champion, even if Kamara is starting to, come off the top.
Decompose.
Yeah,
Decompose. I think, and that's the only thing I want to defend my fight IQ is that I did text you ahead of time when that knee picture came out.
it
And
did
I
look
said,
funky.
I suddenly am really not liking. I don't know that. And now after watching the fight, even though he really acquitted himself great,
Yeah,
you still just that did not look like the Camaro necessarily. And I don't know how much of that is Edwards and his footwork and all that stuff.
yeah,
But I don't know, man. He was getting up from the wrestling stuff. They said that Camaro can't even try double leg takedowns anymore because he can't get the explosiveness.
Oh, I doubt it. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, like honestly, you look at that guy and it's more just like, dude, just go, like, move on, or actually fight Connor to get one big like payday
yeah,
because Connor might take it now,
yep.
and then get your payday and go.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I also think Leon, after taking an ass whooping in the last fight for 4.5 rounds, pretty much, knew that everything that Kamara could throw at him wasn't going to put him down, and he was braver in exchanges with Kamara in this fight as well, which played into his benefit because it led to his ability to get the, to land the shots in the moments that mattered that won him rounds.
How about this? How good does Nate Diaz look now?
Great.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, God damn, like he's never gotten real respect, right? Like, I mean, from me included, like it's always been, he's just like a zombie who can absorb a bunch of damage.
And Leon put it on Nate. And Nate almost Leon'd Leon at the end of that fight.
I know it. And it's like, damn. But, and then the other thing would be, let's see, what was the other, there was another fight thing. Right after the fight, and I didn't get to see this video. I don't know if it was video or what, but I saw a lot of reports that they tried to position Colby to be the next contender, which is just bullshit.
Oh, 100%.
Insane bullshit. But I guess Leon basically said no to Dana, right? Like, in a way that was bold, I guess.
I think that Leon now waits to take another fight until we see the outcome of Chandler versus McGregor at 170.
Probably. I'm sure I would slow roll.
If I'm the champion, that's exactly what I'm doing.
After those two, yeah.
I just put down your pound for pound, a top 5 pound for pound greatest fighter of all time twice in less than 6 months. I'm going to pick my next fight.
Yeah, if I were him, though, I might actually, as I think about it, you go, the Colby fight is actually probably a really good one for him. He hits like I get he could overwhelm him possibly, but he hits like a pillow. And I don't know. I like his striking. I don't know that Colby's ever fought a striker like him.
I don't know if he has either.
And his length is so much better. But anyway.
True. And then last but not least for the Combat Corner, we are officially 30 days away from Tank Davis versus King Ryan Garcia. And comments have started to come out. And I know, Gabe, you are not a big Canelo Alvarez fan, but when Canelo Alvarez comes out and warns Tank Davis to be careful with Ryan, who was in camp with him for a 2 or 3 year stretch there, and Canelo does not like him, does that start to sway your opinion a little bit?
Well, I mean, I listen. I think that Ryan. I'm almost leaning Ryan.
Same.
Like for sure, because I think there's just something to. He's been calling for it. I believe he sees something. I believe he believes he's going to win, and that is really powerful. And then when his team put in those provisions, the rehydration clause, they're scared. Oh man, they
scared.
They did everything they could to kind of wriggle out of this.
Oh yeah,
and absolutely. They gave him impossible odds. I heard Bernard Hopkins talking about it, and basically he was like that was basically they tried to do that to him with the Tito fight in Puerto Rico, and he's like. At a certain point, and he told Ryan this, like, yeah, okay, that's bad, but you just got to take it. Can you beat him? If you think you can beat him, just go take it. Just go deal with it. Yep. I love that mentality, and I love that Ryan's doing it, and I think he's going to win. That's a big part of me.
There's just something about a fighter that doesn't flinch. Mm-hmm. And as pretty as Ryan is, he never fucking flinches.
No.
Every time he steps, when he got popped by Luke Campbell and went down, he stood right back up and went right back to work.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't flinch. I think he's going to win as well. And to back this up, by the way, Eddie Hearn, after visiting both camps, came out and switched his pick from Gervonta Davis to Ryan Garcia as well, 30 days ahead of the fight.
I think he's peaking at the right time.
I do too.
Where he is in his career. And what really sucks is that for the first time ever, I like Tank now.
Right.
He is a very likable guy in interviews now that he's grown up.
Yeah.
Like a little bit yeah. Humble and like, man, I mean, of course he beat the shit out of his girlfriend on the side of the road. But I don't know.
He hasn't grown up that much. He's still only 5'5.5".
Yeah, Mike said, grab the stepping stool. But no, I think that's one of those things that Ryan Garcia does. You're like, oh, these are good fighters. I know these guys. And then Ryan's going to come around and show you who these guys are. He's got that kind of star power that the other 4 kings or whatever don't have.
Yeah, I'm just so glad it's happening, man. I'm so happy it's happening.
I'm stoked. We should actually, you know what?
We should do that live.
We should do a live reaction to that fight here on the show.
I'll see if I can make it. All right. MLB 30 under 30 teaser continues. 28 years old. We have 2 players for you.
Yeah, we do have 2 players at 28. Let's recap real quickly who we have gone through already. And I have them put in order for myself. Agree or disagree with me. We have gone through Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Francisco Lindor, Alex Bergman,
Bregman.
and Xander Bogaerts.
Not again.
Him and Aaron Kendricks, whoever the fuck that guy is.
His brother that got
Yeah,
arrested
whatever.
playing for the Eagles on like tax evasion or
Whatever.
some shit.
The 28-year-olds for today.
Yeah, are going to be Shohei Ohtani, who we obviously spent a ton of time raving over already, and
We're watching Babe Ruth. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing something historic. So watch baseball when he plays.
yeah. Gabe, do we have the upper left corner box for this graphic?
Oh, I forgot this is the third. Yep.
Yeah.
Just don't highlight my errors.
No,
and
you're
I'll-
good.
I'll fix it.
You're good. So Shohei Ohtani obviously makes the list here. We'll talk about him first before we get into Carlos Correa. I think Gabe is right. We're watching the second coming of Babe Ruth. I have tried to fend off my admiration for him as about as long as I can because I do worry about the longevity of it. But now you've got guys that have played in the league that know him personally that say he can do this for another 7 or 8 years. And you realize, oh wait, Babe Ruth really stopped pitching in his early 20s.
Yep.
This is and with him getting ready to get paid as the best player
Oh, it's insane.
as the best pitcher, the best hitter.
He's arguably in my opinion, he's definitely the best baseball player in the world right now.
Yeah.
He's close to being the best baseball player ever.
He is
Very
truly,
close.
actually, he is statistically the best baseball player ever.
Yeah.
as well.
For this stretch. For this stretch.
Yes.
Right now,
Yep,
I like
not
the
all
long.
time.
I'm always going to make the longevity argument, right? Like, this is impressive. Before we go absolutely, legendary, let's see if he can put another 2
I think this
years
stretch
together.
is legendary already.
I was
You're
gonna
going to be
say, if
talking
he
about this
doesn't-
stretch for 100 years.
Oh, for sure. But as a career, as a whole, not just
career,
the
yeah.
stretch. I need to see 1 or 2 more years of this. But man, the guy's well on his fucking way.
Right.
If he does one more year, like honestly, if he hits 43 home runs and then
15
has his
wins
ERA
this year,
under
yeah.
3 with 15 wins, he's in the Hall of Fame as far
Yep.
as I'm
Yep,
concerned.
100%. 100%.
It's just too crazy.
And then I guess the other 28-year-old, actually a Minnesota Twin, our first appearance of a Minnesota Twin on this listing, Carlos Correa. So, Mike, thoughts on Carlos? Where do you think he stacks up among the names we've gone across so far? I mean, I've got him, firmly right up against the ass of Francisco Lindor in line here.
To be honest, the only person I wouldn't trade him for is Bregman.
Really? You
Really?
think he's that talented, huh?
No,
No, he-
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't like
no, I'm saying I would take Bogarts. I would take Judge. I would take Harper. I would take Shohei. Clearly, I would take Sandy Alcantara over Carlos Correa.
Fair
But-
enough.
Take him.
But I'm happy that we have a guy actually on the list,
Yeah, we have
which is where the Twins are.
So is this our time, Mike? Where and you don't necessarily know the list. It's on our doc, but I know you haven't peeked.
No, I don't
Have you?
actually do any work outside of the show.
How many Twins do you think actually make the list?
How old is Jose Miranda?
2 or 3.
2 or 3 players?
And it's 30 players? 2.
2?
1. Shit.
What? Just
Ryan.
Carlos Correa?
Well, let's
Joe
think about
Ryan.
it. Let's think about it though. There's 30 teams in the MLB.
Yeah.
So if there's 30 players under 30, statistically each team should have 1. That's
Sure.
not going to happen. So there's going to be a few teams with 5. I'll say 2.
Joe
I'll
Ryan
say
was
2.
Was an opening day starter.
Correct, but is he a top
Is
player
he one of the top 30 players under the age of 30
in the entire league?
in the entire league?
I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. But I think, yeah. I mean, I think he, he'd be like 30th. But
yeah, right.
But
I'm going to
that's-
say 2, and I
I
don't
think he's really
well,
underappreciated. But yeah.
wait, I have to check one thing.
How old is Jose Miranda?
You looking up how old Byron Buxton is?
Yes. How old is he?
God,
He's
that actually
29,
makes
so we
me
would have
sick.
talked to him about it.
Byron
Yeah.
Buxton
We
is
have to
29
look this
and
up.
did
So we
not
would've-
make the
yeah,
list.
So I'm going to say 1. I'm going to say 1 then. I
All
bet
right.
it's just Correa.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Oh,
We will see.
That's sad. All right, the 27-year-old on our list as we are running out of time. Sandy Alcantara. Is it Alcantara?
Alcantara.
Alcantara.
There you go. You had me jacked up there for a second. This guy has been a wizard, and this should show his performance and stability in that rotation shows you why they're comfortable letting go of a guy like Pablo Lopez, right? This is their ace. The guy has been fantastic. I think he's going to be the staple in that rotation for a long time coming.
I was
He
sad the
might-
Twins didn't
Yeah.
make that happen because I thought it was within the realm of possibility. to
I
be
did too.
honest.
This is a really great young arm. You're going to get another 5 or 6 years of top level performance out of him. His whip is what's most impressive. I think last year he spent all of the last month of the season below 1.0 with his whip. Just absolutely dangerous on the mound. Well deserving to make the list.
They have Eduardo Cabrera too, the rookie who throws like 102.
Yep.
And it's like, man, there's so much good young ball players in Florida right now.
Oh, so many.
Like between Tampa and Miami.
Yeah.
Wow.
And guess what? Luis Ariz is going to be able to win a lot of 1-0 ball games, slapping the ball around the yard that way. So
it was a good move for him.
Well, I think that's all we have for you guys today. I think Nick is excited to do the lead out.
I'm kind of sad that the show's ending, but as always, folks, we were glad to have you with us. We appreciate your support every single Thursday here at Glass Half Sports. Make sure you tune in with us next week on what platforms, Mike?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon.
That's right. Thursdays at 11 o'clock. Until next time, where we are inching closer to the draft, and we'll have the start of baseball season for you here shortly. Stay safe. Have fun. Take care.
I thought you said one more thing after that. Goodbye. For real.
It's always 3.
I guess.
Bum, 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 bum.